Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 25 to 30.
दैवमेवापरे यज्ञं योगिनः पर्युपासते ब्रह्माज्ञावपरे यज्ञं यज्ञो नैवोपजुह्वति श्रोत्रादीनीन्द्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन् विषयानन्ये इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति सर्वाणीन्द्रियकर्माणि प्राणकर्माणि चापरे आत्मसंयमयोगाग्नौ जुह्वति ज्ञानदीपिते द्रव्ययज्ञास्तपोयज्ञाः योगयज्ञास्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः अपाने जुह्वति प्राणं प्राणे पानं तथा परे प्राणापानगतिरुद्ध्वा प्राणायामपरायणाः अपरे नियताहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वेप्येते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः.
This chapter 4, we have seen 3 topics so far. The first topic was from shloka number 1 to 10, where he tells us that this knowledge is coming from the Supreme. The ultimate source of this knowledge is the Supreme Reality, Brahman. The topic is self is the eternal teacher, and the word self is with capital S, which means it is referring to Brahman, Atman, divinity, God. See, when the individual through the karma, bhakti, jnana, all that yogas dissolves the ego totally and merges with the divinity within, merges with the with his or her true identity called Atma in Sanskrit and self in English. Then through the body, mind, intellect of that person, it is the self that is revealing the knowledge. So that is why we say this knowledge of the ultimate can only be revealed by the self. So only to the extent you have unfolded the self can you communicate the self. This is what he talks about in this portion. So from verse 1 to 10 of this chapter 4, this is the discussion. The discussion is what? It is God who gives this knowledge. Individual who has not realized the truth, who is not yet enlightened, cannot give this knowledge. So we say only to the extent you have unfolded the self, you can communicate the self. That's what we say. So Therefore, it's not possible that this knowledge has come from the individual. It's come from the Ishvara. It has come from that ultimate. That is the message. And from verse 11 to verse 18, the next topic is given. How the self relates to action. There, in verse number 18 especially, he gave the knowledge of action, inaction. The reality, the divinity within, is actually an only winner of perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts. The Sakshi Chaitanyam, by its mere presence, lends sentiency to the otherwise insentient body, mind, and intellect. And the body, mind, intellect does the action. So, Atma is akarta, bhokta. Atma is not a doer. So, when you gain this knowledge, you understand that you are not the doer. Now, in this, the interesting thing is, once you understand that you are not the doer, thereafter, even though there may be a lot of actions done by your body, mind, intellect, you always retain this knowledge that the real I in me, the I am a non-doer. Being a non-doer, whatever actions are done through you, they don't attract karma. There is absolutely no enjoyership. So you become akarta, abhokta. Not only that, wherever you will see action, you will understand that it is emanating from the body, mind, intellect. And you will also understand that activities are not possible if the Atma was not enlivening it. So in that sense, when you are doing the action also, you will remain objective. And even if someone else is doing an apparently a negative action, you will not hate that person. You understand that person is doing such actions because he is given into ignorance, not knowing his real self. He gives it to his body, mind, intellect, and does such actions. So you'll only feel sorry for that person's childishness. So that way, an evolved person incurs no karma, no hatred, nothing. He understands that from one angle, Atma is absolutely a non-doer. From another angle, Atma is all-doer. In the sense, because Atma is enlivening in every being, actions are able to come, express through all beings. In that sense, Atma is all-doer. So, when you see the actions anywhere, you will see Atma there. So, you understand. This is called, seeing inaction in action, action in inaction. When there is divinity, Atma, only action is possible. If Atma is not enlivening, his body, mind, intellect per se is jadam. They cannot act. So you see action in the Brahman, which is otherwise a karta. You see the potential of actions coming through the body, mind, intellect, because only Atma can live in it. This is called seeing karma in akarma. Then, when you see any action, you there see what? Karma in karma. All these actions are not possible without Atma. So all these interpretations we saw. Once you get this knowledge, once you're established in this knowledge, see, we receive the knowledge from the Guru, from the Shastra, through Shravana. Then we have to do self-effort called Manana. Individually, we have to sit and think about it. Ask questions. Why? How is it? Is it applicable in all conditions, all state, or etc., etc.? Then the knowledge you begin to understand. And then you soak yourself in that understanding, and that's called nididhyasa, where slowly through that process you get established in the knowledge. An established person is one who is called as enlightened. Sthita prajna. Now, that person, after enlightenment, continues to live, because we have discussed this also. The person has only exhausted the sanchita vasana, the total vasanas. But those set of vasanas that propelled one into this birth can only be exhausted through experience. So, even though the person is enlightened, the prarabdha vasanas are lingering, therefore the person continues. And each individual's prarabdha vasana varies. So one may be actively involved in the world, one may be more introverted. So one may choose the lifestyle of grahastha, being in the world. Another may choose the lifestyle of sannyas. Whatever may be the lifestyle. In the Puranas, we have stories where they talk about enlightened person being a butcher also, doing the job of a butcher. Now, this may be very difficult for us to swallow. That's the truth. The person, even though is doing the action of butcher, as far as he is concerned, he has no doership. Without doership, even when such actions are done, there is no karma. With the doership, when you remain doing nothing, you still incur karma. Because the motive is there. This is what we need to understand. The doership is there. When Arjuna sat down in the first chapter, saying, I will not do anything, there is motive not to do. See, when you get enlightened, you rise above doing and not doing. There is no interest to do anything. There is no interest not to do also. So therefore, whatever comes in your lot, according to prarabdha, gets done through your body, mind and intellect. But there is no involvement of yours. There is no identification with this limited individuality. Therefore, there is no bondage. And this is what he discussed from verse 19 till 24, the last topic we have seen. Actions of enlightened, not binding. So when you do an action, or any action, could be with the knowledge, supported by the knowledge, then that action doesn't incur karma, doesn't incur sin. When we say sin in Vedanta, we mean reaction, the agitations. It doesn't produce any agitation. There is no creation of fresh desires or vasanas through such activity. Therefore, that person, whatever may be the lifestyle, doesn't get bound. I explained this bondage also. In the Vedanta Treatise book, Swamiji explains it very beautifully. In the 5th chapter, in the very first part, it comes. Swamiji has written the book Vedanta Treatise in 3 parts. It's all in one book only, but he's divided that into 3 parts. Part A, Part B, Part C. Part A is called Introduction to Vedanta. Part B, Practical Vedanta. Part C, Essence of Vedanta. So, there, he explains in chapter 5, in the Introduction to Vedanta, chapter 5, which is called as Exigency of Action. He talks about this chronology of action. From Vasana comes thought, from thought comes desire, from desire comes action. You have painting Vasana, therefore painting thought comes in me. I don't have painting Vasana, therefore painting thought doesn't come in me. I may have some other Vasana, for example, to talk on the Shastra. I have that Vasanas. So in me that thought comes. So from Vasana comes thought. From thought comes desire. From painting Vasana, painting thought comes. Then from the painting thought, desire comes to paint. And then from the painting desire, the action of painting emerges, evolves. So Vasana produces thought. From thought, desire comes. From desire, action comes. Now when you are doing the action, if it was propelled by desire, desire means what? There is a lack. I desire to fulfill that lack through this action and achieving this result. So it's a bridge connecting the present imagined lack to the future achievement. It's a mental bridge. That's desire. So I'm thinking about the result while doing the action. Now, when I do such actions, my thoughts are on the results. Therefore, those thoughts leave sediments, impressions. So such actions propelled by desire produces desires, vasanas. So now if you see, from vasana comes thought, from thought comes desire, from desire comes action, and from action again comes vasanas. So this is the cycle. And then what? Again run, achieve, produce more desires, again run, achieve, produce more desires, never contented, always agitated, bound. This is how we get bound. Now, once you gain this knowledge, then your mind is not going to be thinking about the world. Once you understand all this, which I explained, you're not going to be thinking about the world. Now, but at the same time, you have the desires. You are still not enlightened. You have the desires. So what do? You direct it towards a higher goal by your intellect. Because the actions needs expression. So you direct. It's called karma yoga. It's called yajna. You are thinking about the higher and you set that goal. And once you set that goal, then you forget about it. Your intellect focuses on the present action. Now, when you do action like that with awareness, without mechanically chasing the result, you are now giving a direction to your desires for self-purification, for ultimately enlightenment, not for the immediate fulfillment of the desire. There, the immediate fulfillment of the desire becomes a byproduct. Therefore, you are not thinking about the result. It is dedicated for the higher purpose. Such an action that is dedicated for the higher purpose is what is called as yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. Usually it is fire worship, where there is ahuti sacrificed, the fire kindles. The fire is kindled. Fire is the first element that can be seen. Space cannot be seen, air cannot be seen, fire can be seen, and of course water and earth can be seen. So we take fire as a symbol representing God in most of the religion. So it's a ritual that is telling us that you need to do an action as an oblation. That's called yajna. So when you function in that spirit of yajna, then your desires don't produce impressions. And it is done with utmost awareness and intellectual supervision. As a result, the desire will bring in the result also, the worldly results. At the same time, the fact that while doing you were not thinking about the results of the world, you don't produce the impressions. So you become more and more pure. Chitta Shuddhi happens. Then a person who's become pure qualifies to gain the knowledge, and then that person through other sadhanas gets established in the knowledge and becomes enlightened. So, and once you are enlightened, thereafter the prarabdha vasana alone manifests, and you will be doing it with utmost awareness. Therefore, they are not going to produce any more impressions. So, therefore, an enlightened person's actions do not produce vasanas, do not bind. That person who is enlightened only sees Brahman in everything. That was the last shloka we saw. Very famous, oft-quoted shloka. Brahmarpanam, Brahma havihi, Brahmagnam, Brahmanahutam, Brahma ivatena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. So that was the last shloka we saw in the previous class. He says the act of offering is Brahman. The oblation, what is being offered is Brahman. And the one who is offering, offered by whom? That person is also Brahman, offered by Brahman. And where is he offering? He is offering it into the fire, and that fire is also Brahman. And this way, what he is seeing? He is seeing only Brahman in everything. By seeing Brahman in action, Brahman verily shall be reached by him. As you think, so shall you become. If you think you are the doer, in everything you will be seeing yourself as the doer. See, supposing while I am talking now, I see myself as a doer. Then you are all learning. After so many years of studying, you may start your own classes, weekly classes. And when you are teaching somewhere, with the doership, if I teach you today and if I retain the doership, wherever you are teaching, I'll say, he's my student, she's my student, she's teaching because I taught her, I taught him. So indirectly through her and him, I'm only teaching. So I'm all the time thinking about this individuality. This individuality, when I'm going on emphasizing, I will remain that. As you think, so shall you become. But with that knowledge, I told you, in and through every action, you'll only see Brahman. Somebody is cursing you. I even gave that example. Somebody is cursing you, not somebody else. There, where are you focusing? Now you, generally we focus on the words. My God, he's using these words. Our BP goes up. Then we start doing pranayama and all that to control that. The thing works and we burst. But how does a Gnani view this? He understands. He's seeing the Atma enlivening. The body, mind, intellect is functioning. He is unrefined in life. These are the vasanas that are there in him or her. Therefore, such things are coming out through that body, mind, intellect, not through him. He means the Atma. So you don't hate that person. You will identify, you understand. You will feel sorry. You will be having forgiveness. You understand that is helplessly speaking like this. Helplessly. But even such actions cannot come if Atma was not enlivening it. So therefore, in every action, somebody praising you, you will see Brahman. So you don't get excited. You'll be grounded. Somebody criticizing you, cursing you, you'll be grounded. Because you are seeing Brahman in everything. This is called seeing Brahman in everything. Some people see Brahman, I don't know what they see. It's a different thing. See, during my sadhana days in the ashram, our Swamiji Guruji runs an ashram near Lonavla in a village called Malavli. So we all studied there. During that time, I had a co-sadhak by name Mark. He had come from Los Angeles. He was staying in the opposite room of. Sometimes he comes to my room for discussion, something, or I go to his room for some discussion. So it was just me and him in his room. There was nobody else. Suddenly he said, Alexander is listening to whatever we are talking. I said, what happened to this guy? Who is this Alexander now suddenly? First of all, in the ashram, there is nobody studying in the name of Alexander. Alexander is studying, listening to whatever we are talking. Alexander? Who is this Alexander? I suddenly got doubt. Maybe this fellow has gone mad. Sometimes it happens. You're too much involved and go on studying and all that. Everything is Maya, illusion. You may go mad. Don't get scared. If you get involved, and in your case, I have to tell you to study every day. So there's no chance of you going mad. So, who's this Alexander? There are a few lizards in the room. He's named one lizard as Alexander. So I was reminded of that when I'm talking. So like that, you may see Brahman. Seeing Brahman. Those kind of seeing is not seeing. That is your Brahma. It's not Brahman. It's your imagination. I don't know what all you see. You understand? Seeing Brahman in action means what I explained. There is no action anywhere in the world, whether good, bad, ugly, is possible without Atma enlivening it. Such a person is only seeing Brahman. So, you always have a choice to focus on the words, to focus on the action, or the source. If we focus on the source, the fruit is peace, happiness. If we focus on the surface, not the source, the expressions, the actions and the words, then the fruit is agitation, not peace or happiness. Remember this. So this is what he's telling here. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaevatena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. And this we chant before taking breakfast, lunch, dinner. Because, see, when we come to spirituality, if you have to summarize in one line, it is simple living with high thoughts. That is spirituality. Simple living with high thoughts. So you try to control your senses, mind, and then the conserved energy you channelize it towards exhausting vasanas and realizing with higher thoughts. So you may control all senses, but basic minimum to survive to do action, to karma, bhakti, dhyan, meditation, and exhaust vasanas, you have to eat. No? Even if you eat 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, you have to eat. And it's a very powerful sense, tongue. So, while going through that activity, before that we chant this, create that awareness, so that we go through, the one who is eating is Brahman. What is eaten is Brahman. And while eating, where is it offered to? The Vaishvanara in the stomach, which is Brahman. And for what this is done? To get back to Brahman. So this awareness he maintains. He sees Brahman in everything. Then that person doesn't get involved and produce vasanas. And thus he converts that action of eating, tasting, enjoying into a worship. Now, like this, we can convert each and every action into worship. How to do that? That's what he's talking about from verse 25 till 30. It's one of the most brilliant portions in the entire Gita. It's called 12 yajnas. 12 yajnas doesn't mean only 12 are there, there's no 13. Why? This is very important because he covers the entire 3 transactions of life in this portion and teaches us how to convert all the 3 transactions of life into worship. You can call it as 3 transactions of life, or you can call it as 3 traffic of life. Whatever way you want to call it. What are these 3 transactions? They're called receipt, reaction, response. Receipt, reaction, response. You understand? We receive the stimuli from the world outside through our senses, and they react within in our mind. Then we send back response into the world through the organs of action. So receipt, reaction, response. Organs of perception receives the stimuli from the world, then it reacts within in the mind, and then the response is sent out back into the world through the organs of action. So we are like a small manufacturing industry or a big manufacturing industry. In the manufacturing industry, they procure the raw materials from the world outside. It comes from the world outside. Then it is processed in the factory into a product. And that finished product is marketed back in the world. So from the world, the raw material comes. It is processed in the factory. The finished product is marketed back into the world. Exactly like that in us every day. From the time we wake up till the time we go to sleep. From the time we are born till the time we go to, till the time we die. These 3 transactions are going on. Receipt, reaction, response. Receipt, reaction, response. Now, in this portion, he's teaching us how to convert our receipts, our reactions, and our responses into worship. This is what he's teaching. You understand? How to convert all the 3 transactions of life into worship. So then when we do that, what happens? Vasanas dissolve. When the Vasanas dissolve, the divinity shines through us. So it's not achieving something, you're already the divinity, but it's covered by Vasanas. So when the Vasanas are removed, by living with the awareness, going about doing the actions, perceptions, actions, emotions, and thoughts, we become more and more and more pure and transparent. Then through us, the divinity expresses. That's why it's called as enlightenment, not attaining. You're already the self. So this, is the thought flow from verse 1 till 24. Now from 25, we are going to be studying about 12 yajnas. Right? Now, I talked about 3 transactions of life. Before we plunge into studying into more detail about the 12 yajnas, in today's class, we will see these 3 transactions of life, how it's happening in us. Those of you who are attending Tattvabodha class, which is every Saturday morning, which we did yesterday, 8 to 9, will also be able to understand this even better because we have covered that portion. Even otherwise, I'm sure you will be able to understand. So I'll share a screen with you right now. See, this is important because even in the world, we should become proactive, not impulsive. Today we are all impulsive. We have to become proactive. You see, the world enters into us, through the 5 senses. And how does it enter? It enters as stimuli. What are the stimuli? Taste, sight, smell, touch, sound. The color and form enters the eyes. Sound, the ears. The touch through the skin. Fragrance, smell through the nose. Taste through the tongue. So that's how I've put it there. I put it in this particular order, it's just a gimmick. Because when you read tongue, eyes, nose, skin, ears, just take the first capital letters, TENAC, tense. When the stimuli enters into us, and if we do not have the knowledge, we fall in tension. We fall in stress. So, these stimuli enters us through the 5 sense organs of perception. Tongue, eyes, nose, skin, ears. Then, this is why I said yesterday's Tattvabodha students also will understand. We have studied that the sense center is in the mind. See, now I am talking. The sound has entered your ears. If your mind was somewhere else while I am talking, will it get registered? No, Swamiji. It won't get registered. So, where is the sense center in the mind? So, each of the sense center is in the mind. And once the mind receives, in the mind what are there? Likes and dislikes, impulses, feelings, emotions. Lots of impressions are there. You go on listening to all kinds of nonsense, and especially in modern world, everybody is into YouTube. We are also receiving so many things, we are also forwarding so many things. And Just like that, we go on listening. And all that is where? Inside you. It's gone inside. It's all there. Outside we are looking very nice. But inside is all rubbish. So, the stimuli that goes in reacts with the impressions in the mind, the likes and dislikes in the mind. You understand? The stimuli that comes through the senses from the world enters your mind, which is full of likes and dislikes, impressions. There the reactions are going on. T20 World Cup is going on. And today's match between Team X and Team Y. If you have desire, you support Team X or Team Y, or a big fan of that team, and you have desire to watch that match, you've been waiting, then you come to know today is the match. That stimuli enters, you react. A fellow who has no interest in cricket, no reaction, because inside no desires. You understand? So the receipt, then reaction in the mind. Where? With the desire. And all of us are filled with likes and dislikes, and our intellect. See, mind means, generally when we use the word mind, it includes all the four. Manas, Buddhi, Ahankar, Chit. That is, Manas means indiscriminate thought flow. Buddhi means discriminate thought flow. Ego is arrogating thoughts. And Chitta is memory, the storage house. All these four. But here the word mind is used as Manas, which means indiscriminate thought flow, which is filled with impulses, likes, dislikes, desires, emotions, feelings. And our intellect, the discriminating mind, you can say so, is very weak. So what happens? The receipt comes to the mind reacts with likes and dislikes, and we send out impulsive responses back into the world through the 5 organs of action. You understand? Now, ideally what you are supposed to do? Ideally what you are supposed to do? When the sense registration happens in the mind, and we have desires, they are reacting. When we become aware, we should practice control and not send impulsive response. We have to refer it to the intellect. We have to refer it to the intellect. And the intellect should send forth response after reasoning, thinking with that awareness, knowledge. Such response would be called as proactive response. Now here, even when you are sending out proactive response, you are supposed to be doing it with awareness. How much, where, when, etc. Now here there is one more step which is very important. What is that? Even before the registration happens in the mind, what should be allowed inside? What should not be allowed inside? There should be a gatekeeper. Awareness should be there. Otherwise, all kinds of things I allow. Isn't it? Rajasic happiness. In the 18th chapter, he says, Sri Krishna, begins as nectar, ends up as poison. The enjoyment that is born out of sense contact begins as nectar, ends up as poison, is it? When you have something, it's very tasty, but gets into some other trouble and follow. Rajasic enjoyment. If you have awareness in the very beginning, like in the factory, if they want the finished product to be of first quality, can they procure third grade raw material? The raw material also should be of good quality. Na? If it's third grade, then however good your machines may be in the company, finished product will be like that only, third grade. So therefore, the stimuli, when it enters, we have to have that awareness. Yajna has to happen there itself. Please understand. The moment your receipt, your reaction, response is underlined by awareness, it becomes worship. So, explaining, talking about is simple. But in practice, to bring, we need to do all the sadhana. King explaining, giving one lecture and getting claps is very easy. But first you have to understand the importance. See, we need to see what is happening in us. We need to understand. This itself will bring some awareness. Anything and everything can go in. Let me see it at the level of the mind. Not possible. Then you send out response impulsively. But once you have done an action, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. It will produce its results. So therefore, in everything, whether it's the receipt of stimuli or during the process of reaction or during the process of response, there has to be this knowledge underlying with that awareness we have to do. Then it gets converted into worship. Then it won't produce vasanas. Then it won't give you agitations. Otherwise, it will give you agitation. It will produce vasanas. And this is what is happening in us. All of us are leading stressful life, full of tension. So, it's a beautiful portion here where he explains to us how with this knowledge you can convert every action into worship. When you receive the stimuli, that itself can be converted into worship. Then when the registration is happening, worship. Then you send out response. In different ways you respond. Through the body, through the mind, through the intellect. That can be converted into worship. Then for all this to happen, for the receipts through the senses, for the reaction through the mind, and response through the intellect and organs of action to happen, inside pranas are there. So you become aware of that and you bring in pranayama there with that awareness. Then that also is converted into worship. Then that gives you inner strength. That inner strength is invested, oblated to kindle the external activities given into the world back as yajna, worship. This is what he talks about in this portion. Now, not everybody who understand all this are at a very high level where they can say, my goal is enlightenment, self-realization. I understand intellectually and ultimately I need to get enlightened, because only through enlightenment, liberation, moksha, I continue to live my life. You see, just let's understand the very basic question. What is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to live. That's it. The purpose of life is to live. Then the next question, are we living? No, we are existing. We are not living. Life means it should have action, growth, awareness. In our action, where are the awareness? First of all, many of us are inactive, lazy. I am retired. So what? If son says I am retiring, what will happen? So, awareness has to be there. We are only mechanically existing. We are not living. When we get enlightened, then we live. Our real living begins only when we get enlightened. Therefore, everybody should get enlightened. Whether you understand or not, your goal is enlightenment. But it's too far-fetched now. For that enlightenment, first I need to have self-purification, self-development. So, therefore, if I'm practical in my thinking, then I'll say, okay, fine, enlightenment, all that is good. That's my ultimate goal. But straight away, my relative goal is what? Self-purification, self-development. So, that's correct. That's a practical way of looking at it. So then what? I have a limited goal of self-purification. Then once I achieve more and more purification, then I can conceive of enlightenment. Then I will say, I have an absolute goal, absolute ideal called enlightenment. So when you do yajna, when you have decided to do all your actions as yajna, convert all your actions into worship, you can either have limited goal or absolute goal. Okay, you start with limited goal and then go to absolute goal. Then do all the three transactions of life and the functions that support the three transactions, convert all of them into worship. This is what he's talking about from verse 25 till 30. Let us just do one shloka, verse 25.
दैवमेवापरे यज्ञं योगिनः पर्युपासते ब्रह्माज्ञावपरे यज्ञं यज्ञो नैवोपजुह्वति.
Some yogis, see, yoga means, it comes from the root yuj, which means to unite, union. Uniting back with your original self. So, when you do all your actions with this idea of uniting back with the self, you become a yogi. So, he says, some yogis perform sacrifice to gods, devas. Now, if you see in the translation in Swamiji's book, gods here, firstly, it is plural, gods. And secondly, it is starting with small letter g. So some yogis perform sacrifice to gods. Here it is referring to limited goals. Then others perform sacrifice, yajna, by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. I'll explain all these things in detail next week. Don't get confused. What he means to say is the others have the goal of self-realization, enlightenment, Brahman. So one is called Deva Yajna, other is called Brahma Yajna, which means what? Don't get confused. Limited goals, absolute goal. You understand? So, first one is limited goals. I want to achieve self-sufficiency. I want to control my senses. I want to control my actions. Whatever. I have limited goals. Then I move to absolute goal of enlightenment. So, Deva Yajna, Deva, again, Tattvabodha students would have understood. Others I'm just explaining. See, the country is ruled by Prime Minister. But under him, there are a lot of ministries, a lot of ministers. Like that, under Ishvara, there are so many gods. All ultimately only one. So each, we have Agni, Vayu, etc., etc., etc. So many devas. Depending on what you want, you apply to that particular ministry and you get the sanction or rejection. But ultimately it's coming from the Prime Minister only. So like that, different goals, devas, are conceived. So Deva Yajna means, in this context, limited goals. So in the ritual also, people sacrifice that to particular devta for particular results. Agni is what? Through Agni. Agni is like a postman there. You are writing the letter to maybe to your beloved. Her address is somewhere else. You are writing this letter, writing the address on top of it. They are putting it in the post office. The post box. Postman delivers it in the particular address to the person. So like that, to a particular devta, through Agni Devta, you are offering rituals for fulfillment of certain desires. You understand? But for what? Purification. Chitta Shuddhi. Want to achieve that goal, desire, and also rise above, not get stuck. So hence, it's called Deva Yajna. It's a relative goal. So like that, you have limited goals. So he says some yogis perform sacrifice to gods, limited goals. Others perform absolute goal. With this, let's conclude today's class. And we'll continue this in more detail in the next class. Let's conclude now with chanting some prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.